Last week, Tuesday, at about sunset, a magnitude 7 earthquake struck the island of Haiti. You've seen the images of suffering and the aftermath of that terrible earthquake. The terrible irony of this situation is that Haiti economically was already at the bottom. It has the worst economic situation of any country in the Western Hemisphere. They've already at the bottom, and now they have been shoved through the floor. As I watched TV over the week and listened to conversations here in our village and had conversations with other clergy, I've been struck by the questions. Why? Why do such things happen? How can there be such evil? Where is God? What can I do? How will they ever recover? Questions are very difficult to answer in these kinds of situations. But it's questions that we ask nonetheless. You know, if you were to take a tour of the Bible, there's one book of the Bible that has more questions in it than any other. Job is that book of the Bible. Job has 330 questions in its 42 chapters. The first book of the Bible, Genesis, has only 160 questions. Matthew, the first book of the New Testament, has around 180. And that's odd because it seems that Jesus, every time he opens his mouth, is asking questions. Even the book of Psalms, with its 150 chapters, has only 160 questions. So why does the book of Job have so many questions? There's a very simple reason. The book of Job deals with a horrible tragedy. Here is what happened. Job is a righteous man, greater than all others. A hedge, a barrier has been placed around him, around his family, around his businesses. Suddenly, without warning, and for no reason other than his being blameless and upright, his family and his businesses are just wiped away. In the middle of the business of everyday life, two rogue groups conduct a raid, taking away Job's livestock and putting his servants to the sword. Then his family is lost in a freak accident when a mighty wind sweeps in from the desert. It strikes the four corners of his house, collapses it, and all are lost. It was swift, it was unwarranted, it was unconscionable. A very large hit, and hit hard. In many ways, the events of this past week seem eerily echoed in that story of Job. Why is there then such a similarity between the events of Job and the events of this past week? It is because, even though 4,000 years separate the two events, life, and by life I mean the things that make life meaningful, have not changed at all. Not over 4 millennia. We all must make a living. We all love our family. We all want security. We all want a home. So what do we do in tragedy? Well, we do what Job did when he learned of his loss. We mourn. Did you notice that he was rather silent when he first received the 2 reports that his businesses and his livestock had been wiped out? But when he received the news that his children were lost, he got up and he just tore his robe. Then he fell on his knees and he mourned. Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will return. In other words, everything that had meaning in his life was gone as he came into this world, so Job felt he was going to leave it barren. As the news poured in, I saw images of children lying in the streets all alone as crowds thronged past. Bodies lined up on the side of the street. Dads, moms, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and friends. The news has shown us their faces and told their stories, and the mourning has rippled across this country. We mourn for every family lost, every family that's been torn apart. We weep for Haiti. We mourn because of their loss. Mourning is a part of a powerful process. It undergirds our strength and reveals our very soul. It helps us reach out in compassion to those who hurt. After we have mourned, then we can start asking some more questions. How can I help? Where do we go from here? Where do we stand now? And perhaps we also wonder, how can we stop this from happening again? And that last question is a tricky one. If you don't mind, we're going to spend a little time taking a look at that one. Job had a hedge of protection, a barrier which God had erected, but then took it away, allowing Satan to have his way with Job. It is the Old Testament's way of saying, even the most righteous and best of this earth are not immune to evil. Just because we are good does not mean we are protected from bad. Not in this life. The writer of Job clearly understands this. But Job himself could not. He was too caught up in his own grief and loss. Neither could Job's friend comprehend what had happened. His 3 friends came to him and say, in effect, only those who have done evil perish. Those who are righteous are never destroyed. They thought Job had done some terrible and evil thing.